For sure. All right. Next question here is from Rogue Blue once again. Who is reasonable at the start of the second round who could be a steal? Who would you trade up for from 31? So who's someone you guys like at 31 first?
I'll go first just because there's one guy who's had a really good week and a really good, month or two, in terms of just the perception of his stock and being a real riser right now. It's Brandon Podziemski from Santa Clara, aka Pods. And he just had an incredible performance in the combine scrimmage the other day. I think he finished with like 10 points, 8 rebounds, and 7 assists, and really just looked in control of everything. Was making all sorts of plays as far as the hustle plays down to playmaking and really just being an impact on the game. And he might have played himself into first round territory and out of 31's range, but he's one of my favorite guys right now.
I will go ahead and give two. I was just double checking the ESPN big board to make sure I wasn't, way off on what it is. So I I think an absolute steal, and gosh, there's got to be no way that it happens. But a guy like Kobe Buffkin falling somehow, man, that would be incredible. I would love to add him at 30. He's a great player. I personally would probably take him top 20. So again, I think that would be like the absolute steal in terms of a guy that has talked about potentially being in that range. I mean, Derek Whitehead would be pretty interesting right there if he falls. I think a lot of places have him in the 20s, right? So that's not too much of a slip. So if he's there, he'd be ideal, or even a move up like 2 or 3 spots to nab him.
Real quick, as far as Derek, I've been so high on Derek since high school, and I'm never wavered. He's pushing top 10 for me still. I love Derek.
Nice, love it. He's a
I
talented
love
guy.
Yeah. 5 years at Montverde, it's really hard to do.
that. Well, for me, at pick 31, I've been pretty vocal about Julian Strawther out of Gonzaga. So another guy, though, who I like is Marcus Sasser out of Houston. Just he's just a shooting backup guard, scored at will at Houston. I think I think he's a senior. I think he's 21, 22,
Mm-hmm.
I believe so.
which I also like. Like, I think you can either take sort of a massive swing in the second round for like a tantalizing prospect that hasn't done a lot, or you can go for the guys who you know what you're going to get day one. And I don't want to get into a Killian Hayes debate, but Marcus Sasser, I just really someone to come off the bench and score efficiently, or just put up points and hit shots from downtown, and just be aggressive. Like, from what I've watched, he's got a bit of dog in him. And I really like. Yeah, I could see him being a real steal at the start of the second round. A little bit undersized, but coming off the bench, you're not as concerned about that with the role he'll be playing. So, yeah, he's a guy I really like at 31.
Yeah, Sasser's one of my favorites too. He's such a tough defender too.
Yeah, for sure. And I guess the second half of this question, guys, I'm just trying to find it again. Who would you trade up for from 31? So the way I'm interpreting this is, would you try and package 31 and let's just say player X and the Pistons to get into the 20s? Is there a player there you would do that for? For me, it's Maxwell Lewis from Pepperdine. If he's there, he's sort of that intriguing wing, can shoot it, good size. He was on a really bad team at Pepperdine, but he's sort of an intriguing wing. I wouldn't mind getting into the 20s to select if he's there.
Yeah, he would be a good one. I also had my eye on Bilal Koulibaly, who played on the same Mets 92 team as Victor. And he's kind of, in my mind, like a Mikal Bridges light, where he's got a lot of the 3 and D typical things that you want, but he's starting to show a little bit of the creation flashes as well. So I think that that'd be a guy that you might target as well.
For sure.
Yeah, I think
Oh.
I was pretty much gonna echo what you guys have said. Someone in that type of range, right? You got usually valued in those low teens that drops into the mid 20s unexpectedly. Yeah, I think that would be interesting to do. I think if I were to make a prediction, though, I think the most likely outcome with that 31st pick is just traded for a player. Um, I mean, a lot of times you'll see contenders that don't right now have a first round pick target those high second rounders to dump salary and then get someone cheap. So I can't remember the list of teams that are very good right now but don't have a first round pick. I would be looking at the kind of middle to back end of their roster and keeping my eye on some of those guys. I don't know. I feel like that's pretty likely. I doubt they want to add another 20-year-old after that number 5 overall pick if they want to build and take a step forward.
Suns are definitely a candidate for that as well, by the way. The good team without a first round pick. Yeah.
Well, hey, so you've got the Suns connection. Is there anyone on that roster that, I mean, maybe not that you think they'd be willing to flip, but that would be good for the Pistons to get in that type of value move?
As far as salaries that they're trying to get rid of, I think the only two that come to mind are, and I need to double check this, but I think they'd be willing to move off of Campaign, who I think is entering the $6 million of his last year, and then Landry Shamet entering the last year at $14 million. I may be misremembering whether it's the last year or not, but those are two guys that they've shown an interest recently in potentially shopping.
Those are they're two very interesting names, especially with the context we're talking about, because Shamet, I think, has had his struggles in the playoffs, but he would be but we're not talking playoffs in Detroit. We're trying to get to 28 wins. That's where we're at. So I feel like a veteran like Shamet to come off the bench, or who can spot start if you have injuries at the 2. I like that. I think his movement, shooting ability, I think that would be a really good get. I wonder if that's his last year of his deal. Did you say it was $14 million expiring?
I think so. I'll check real quick.
Yeah. That's definitely a player. That's a move I could see Troy doing. And Campaign.
I think. Go ahead.
No.
I was going to say, I think the thing to remember with all of these guards that you could potentially add, even in free agency on cheaper deals, is Alec Burks is pretty flexible in the position that he can play. Like I don't think you'd ever want to start him at the 1, but as a backup, like he could run the show in spot minutes, especially if he's splitting that time with a guy like Jaden Ivey, who's going to get a lot of bench point guard minutes too. So like if you want to upgrade from Killian Hayes, you do not strictly have to acquire a point guard. You could get a more scoring guard and let Burks and Ivy kind of split those backup 1 duties, and it would be just fine. So you got flexibility is all.
Sure. And it looks like we got confirmation here. 2 more years, but team option and non-guaranteed. Is that correct?
The thing I'm looking at right now on Basketball Reference, so take it with a grain of salt, is $33 million over the next 3 years. And I'll check Fanspo as well.
For Shamet. Right. Okay.
Yeah.